Commemorations have taken place around the world, marking the 75th anniversary of Japan's surrender, ending the Second World War. The Prince of Wales led the remembrance in the UK, joining veterans and military personnel for a service at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. He paid tribute to the courage of those who fought in the Far East, saying their service and sacrifice would echo through the ages. And he remembered all those whose lives were blighted by the conflict. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell has the full story.
In the open spaces of the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, a carefully choreographed commemoration attended by 40 veterans who served in the 14th, sometimes forgotten army. Many thousands lost their lives in the jungles of Southeast Asia and in Japanese prisoner of war camps.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
After the sounding of the last post by a Royal Marine bugler, a 2-minute silence was led by the Prince of Wales. And in remembrance of lives lost from so many nations, from British, pre-partition Indian and other Allied armies, wreaths were placed at memorials here and in many of the nations which were involved in the conflict.
Today, in this hallowed place, and in the presence of all those gathered here, or in their homes, wherever they may be, let us affirm that they and the surviving veterans are not forgotten. Rather, you are respected, thanked, and cherished with all our hearts, and for all time.
In a tribute recorded on Horse Guards Parade and broadcast by the BBC Tonight, images of veterans, including the Duke of Edinburgh. He was aboard a warship in Tokyo Bay when the Second World War ended. His grandson spoke of the need to cherish peace.
We must not forget our responsibility to learn the lessons of the past and ensure that the horrors of the Second World War are never repeated. We owe that to our veterans, to their families, and to the generations who will come after us.
75 years on, thanks were given for the moment a world war ended. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News.
Well, 50,000 British and Commonwealth troops died in the war against Japan, half in prison camps. Some of their relatives joined surviving veterans at the Memorial Arboretum, and our correspondent Sian Lloyd was there.
96-year-old Joan Burfield, known as Johnny since her Navy days, one of the remaining few who remember VJ Day because they were there. She was then a Wren, aged 21, stationed in the Far East and tasked with decoding signals, one of a group of young women who'd joined the Navy to serve their country. 75 years on, she hasn't forgotten the most important message she came across.
We were receiving signals, from all over the place. And somebody just shouted, "It's over. It's over. The war's finished." But we still had to carry on.
For Sergeant Francis Rayleigh, the Japanese surrender signalled the first steps towards freedom. Like thousands of others, he'd endured years of suffering in prisoner of war camps. His daughter's proud to be here today.
He was taken captive by the Japanese and taken to Sumatra, and he was there for 3.5 years, where he saw the most horrendous torture of people. He was lucky that he didn't receive, too much bad treatment in that respect, but it must have been horrific for him.
Gosh, if he was here today, he'd say his buttons would be popping off his chest. That's just how he was. He'd just be thrilled to be here.
It was an event to mark an historic day.
It's been a lovely service, and that has brought back lots of memories, especially when they talked about the prisoners, because those men, they were half-starved, could hardly walk.
Remembering those who finally brought the Second World War to a close. Sian Lloyd, BBC News, Staffordshire.
Japan's emperor has expressed deep remorse today for his country's wartime actions at a ceremony in Tokyo. Emperor Naruhito expressed hopes the ravages of war would never be repeated, while Japan's Prime Minister said his country now consistently values peace.